Good evening, everyone. We are back continuing our Studio Ghibli retrospective.
It's really hot today.
It is really hot today. We've got.
I've only just noticed this second. It's really warm, and I don't know what happened.
We are talking about the 1988 film Grave of the Fireflies. This was released as a double feature with My Neighbor Totoro, which we talked about last week. I can absolutely see why both of these films were released at the same time. One being one of the most charming, warm, happiest films I've ever seen in my life.
This one.
And then this one. Well, this is definitely a warm film. There's a lot of fire in this film and burning, and
I think diarrhea is warm as well. So,
yes, yeah. So this one is directed by. Again, there's going to be Japanese names in this, which I'm going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation of, so I do apologize. Isao Takahata. I'm going to go with that. I'm probably pronouncing it horribly. Could you just turn my volume down just a tad again, please? So this is based on the 1967 semi-autobiographical short story by Akiyuki Nosaka, and apparently has 2 live-action versions that have been produced of this film as well, which I didn't know about until earlier today. I wonder if it's like the Disney live-action remakes. They're just like really terrible and miss the point of the film, and they're just really, really bad. I don't know. They produced 2 of them. So, Grey the Fireflies. For me, this was a second viewing of this film. I had watched this film many, many years ago, and I'd forgotten the specifics of it, but I knew the general story, and more importantly, I remembered how the film made me feel, which was very sad. Absolute tearjerker, like the futility of war and everything like that. And I thought it was heartbreaking. And the thing is, with a lot of films like that, I will acknowledge that they're probably one of the best films ever made, or an incredibly important film, a film that I think everyone should see, but I will never go back to, purely because of how you have to be in a certain frame of mind to watch a film like this and be prepared for it. I didn't have a choice for this one today, of course, because we were doing the review on it. Did you know anything about this film going into it? Because this was the first for you, right? This one.
I knew the name. I didn't know anything about it, but you said it was sad, and I was like, this is not going to be sad, because I never find movies sad.
And
although my ex-girlfriend made me watch Marley and Me because she really wanted me to cry because I like dogs, and I didn't cry, and then she was like, why the fuck didn't you cry? You're heartless. And then we broke up.
Oh,
that is technically a true story. It's just not why we broke up. Anyway. But yeah,
so what was the verdict?
No, it was sad. It was sad because of the way that the thing is, the whole war-torn, people get their home taken away from them, everyone dies. It's not a sad thing to me. It's tragic, but I love shit like that. Like, they're the stories that, like, I was going to use some weird phrasing, that like weird words. I'll have to change how I say this, but like, they're the ones that really I really like, and I really enjoy those kind of movies. And I think it's just really cool with the action. And, you know, I find, not to be like the Joker, but I find death really cool. Like, do you know what I mean? I find those kind of scenes and those murders and stuff, I think, you know, it's really cool. I enjoy that sort of, you know, cinema. You know, so it's not that makes it sad, but it's the way the characters act. And I mean, to be fair, you can say all you want in the sense of like it's an animated movie, but I think just the acting of those animations is amazing. And like the voice acting, but the thing is, it's like you know, when you get, you know, video game characters, as much as they are animation moving, or like, you know, you get animated, you know, cartoon characters that are moving, they are like characters within themselves, if you know what I mean. Like, it's like the whole because I think you said it, you know, when you watch like, for instance, you know, Batman 89, Gotham is a character in itself. It's like that. So and I think animation, when it's done well, you get characters that are proper, like, actual actors and characters within themselves as well. You get what I mean? Whereas, like, and I think this movie really captured that. It's not just another, like, oh, it's just a character, or like, you know, that whole thing of like, oh, Bambi's mum died. Yeah, it's just a drawing of a deer. Get over it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when people say shit like that, it's not just something like that. It's the characters feel like proper people. You know what I mean? And it really, really captured that the whole time. So yeah, it's every bit of emotion was felt in this movie.
Absolutely, and I think probably because of the fact it's also semi-autobiographical as well, obviously based in real-world events. It's the final months of the Pacific War
See,
during World War II.
that point isn't the point that made it sad for me, like at all. This is what I mean by that sort of stuff. That's not what made it sad for me. It's just kind of like, okay, this is, kind of a cool point of view. Like that's what it was to me. It was the way the characters acted, and I think it was just it's the little attention to detail. The little things that are like the mummified mummy at the beginning. Like that is the attention to detail with the maggots and the like. It's really warm in here. Like just things like that make movies come alive. It's things like that that a lot of movies forget. There's tons of movies out there where like it's like, oh, that's cool, but they forget little things like that make the movie just average. But what makes this movie stand out is it remembered all those things.
It's a very, very intimate story, isn't it? It's a very small cast of characters. It's really your two protagonists of Seta and Setsuko. You are just seeing this small part of something that is happening nationwide. Well, it's happening all across Japan and other countries. Obviously, it's World War II. People losing their homes, famine, losing family members, death, and just the need to try and survive in any way possible.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and I think the great thing that the movie captured, it's those real things.
Yeah.
Because you can take a really not terrible story, but I'll think of an example. It's a terrible example, but I'll use it anyway. But remember Fallout 3, right? Now, the reason I say it's a terrible example is because I didn't actually think that game was that great. I didn't think the story was that great. But the whole point, I mean, I don't know if you played it, but the whole point of that story and everything was it was like, because obviously their water was obviously, it was all radiation. It was, it wasn't clean water. The whole thing was purifying the water. That was the concept. So it wasn't some big, like, thing of like, oh, someone's going to destroy this, and these big, like, oh, this is cool. It's literally, they're going to purify water, which off the bat, just that sentence sounds kind of like, okay, like, do you know what I mean? It sounds very just kind of not dull, but, mundane or whatever. But this movie is a very good example of how you can turn something simple of just like, I mean, when I say famine simple, what I mean is just like, it's just a concept that you go, okay, there's a little kid and, they stay with, an aunt, that sort of stuff. And it's like, just little things like that. You're like, okay to the concept, you know what I mean? It's not like, interesting from the get-go, if that makes sense. But what this movie did, it managed to capture those things and turn into something good. Like, I'm a firm believer that any idea can be a good idea. The reason I say Fallout 3 was a bad example is because that game just wasn't that great. The story wasn't handled that well. Liam Neeson couldn't save it. But, it's, you get what I'm saying. It's like, this really captures how you can turn anything into a good idea and attach emotion to anything, essentially.
Yeah, I could almost imagine this as a theatre play, like the really pared down cast and the very sort of like intimate story where you've got just, two characters maybe, and it's all the dialogue and seeing the journey of those two characters. What I appreciate about this film is that it really doesn't pull any punches in terms of showing the horrors of war and, the violence and the death that goes with it. As you mentioned, the mom at the very beginning of the film, who we get to know. It's only a very, very short scene. She's on her way to the shelter, and then next we see her, she is head to toe in bandages, horrifically burnt, horrifically disfigured. The horrible crap conditions that they're in, the heat, and she's not being like sanitized or anything like that, and she's got all maggots crawling all over her. They talk about she needs to be transported to another hospital. As soon as you see her, like, she's not making it through this. Like all the blood-covered bandages, and even stuff later on where you've got the two protagonists who are horrifically malnourished, and the way that it's animated, and like they're in their own filth, and the rash on the skin. It almost makes you want it leaps off the screen. It really does, to see it's horrible. It's horrific to see the two characters deteriorate so much. Of course, what makes it even more horrific as well is the fact that you're dealing with this character Seta, who is desperately trying to save his the only family he has left now, essentially at this point, who he has any real connection to, is his infant sister Setsuko, who's like 4 years old, I think. And immediately having a character like that, not to say that it wouldn't be as equally horrific or heartbreaking if it was a character of any other age. Of course it would be in the story, but the fact that she's just so innocent, and it's you want to preserve that innocence, and
this is
Sata tries to do that as well. You know, he tries to
yeah.
shield her from this horrific hell that's happening around her in her country.
But this is what I mean. It's like with the whole, like you said, it could be anyone of any age. It could still be quite horrific. It's if it's done in the right way. They could have easily had a little kid like that, and you really couldn't give a shit. Like they could have easily done that, but they didn't. They just captured everything. So it was just all very, yeah, just every bit of it was done well.
And I said to you before we went live that I think Studio Ghibli so far is leading the charge of, especially when it comes to capturing that innocence, very, very realistic depictions of, you know, we talked about this with My Neighbor Totoro last week of, you know, like the younger characters, the younger girls, and it's equally done in this one as well. You have that when, as a viewer, you have that sense of you want to protect this character. You're almost on that journey with Sata, and you really want to see the two of them get out of this. Of course, with how the story is structured, you know that it's not going to be a happy ending right from the get-go. And the director actually mentioned that and his thought process behind that. I'm going to try and find his quote here because he says that was intentional. Let me just find it real quick. Let's see if I can find it. If you want to just oh, here we go. I've got it.
There's similarities, isn't there, between the characters in this and the characters in Totoro, in the sense of it's that innocent child kind of thing. Because they at the first in Totoro, like they just run around and the whole, you know, they're playing a game. It's just the whole innocence. But you know, this is done in an innocence with a very, very dark approach.
Yeah, and Totoro's story is there's a lot of these very scary, very real adult events happening in their lives, and you know they're young kids, and they're trying to process this in a brand new place and escaping to nature and the magical spirits and magical creatures that inhabit it. And they're trying to, you know, they're being shielded from all of this horrible stuff that's happening, and that's a very similar theme that's going on in Grave of the Fireflies, where you've got Sata trying to protect his daughter. And one of the most harrowing scenes for me, one of the most emotional. There's lots of emotional scenes in this film all the way through, but specifically how he can't bring himself to tell her that their mother is dead. And he's like, "Oh, we'll go and see her. She's been moved to another hospital, and when she's feeling better, we'll go and see her." You know that's never ever going to happen, and he's trying to distract her on it's like a gymnast's bar, like a pull-up bar that he's on at the beginning.
Is it like the whole thing of when your dog dies, and it's like, yeah, they've gone to a farm.
Yes,
so I'm just not allowed to visit them.
And he maintains this. He shields her from this for a considerable while. And then it's later on in the film that the daughter, his sister, says herself, like, I know that, like, Mummy's gone, or whatever she says. I can't remember the direct quote from the film. Like, Mummy's dead, isn't she? I overheard her say something like that. And Sata just breaks down crying. Like, he has tried so hard to preserve this one shred of innocence, to protect this one bit of absolutely cataclysmic news from his little sister. And she already knew for a while, apparently, as well at that point. And it's voice acted so well as well, like how they were able to. I mean, I don't know how old the girl was who did the voice of Setsuko, but I imagine she probably was around this age, I would imagine. And to get that performance out of her as well. Now, I watched this, of course, in the subtitles. I'm watching the Japanese language. I'm watching all of these. You watch the dub. What was the dub like for this? Did it still get that emotion across as well?
Very, very good. This is one, to be fair, that the others, what I've been doing is watching the dub and I'm reading the subtitles. So I just want to see the differences. I planned to do that with this, but I was like the characters I was listening to, and I didn't really read what was happening. I was just listening to them. So it really, just the whole voice acting and everything was great in it.
Yeah. So I found a quote here. This is from the director, who talks about the idea to open the film with the death of the two characters so that the audience is aware. He says that the decision to show the audience that they've died at the beginning of the movie is to protect the audience from heartbreak. Quote, if an audience knows at the beginning of the film that the two will eventually die, they will be more prepared to watch the film in the first place. I try to lessen an audience's pain by revealing everything at the beginning. I think that's It can work. It's sort of like a non-linear storytelling, but I think for something like this, it achieves all of those ends. But what I actually did with this film is when the film ended, I went back to that beginning scene, so I almost watched it in sequence again. And I watched him die a few weeks later in the train station, where they pick up the can of the fruit drops and they throw it out, and the ashes come out, and then it's like the spirits are reunited again of the two siblings. They board a train. They're the only passengers on board, so it's like going to the afterlife together. And then the very final part of that storyline is the actual ending of the film, where they sit on that bench looking out at a modern day. Is it Kobe? Is that how you pronounce it? Kobe? Kobe City?
Kobe, yeah, Kobe.
I'm thinking of like the basketball player, like Kobe.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if that, like, yeah.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. So yeah, and that actually helped. It helped me because I was watching this last night, and it's a very, very sad movie, and I wasn't in a good place at the end, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch the beginning. So although it is still very sad, when you know ultimately that their spirits are reunited and they're happy to see each other again, and they share a fruit drop with each other from the can, it's like, oh, it's okay, it's nice.
You know what though, that shit like that, I'm like, nah, just kill him, leave him dead. And no, I'm not even joking. I'm very brutal with it. I go, no, just show the thing about death. It's supposed to not be nice. People are dead. That's it. Boys in striped pajamas. That's a good ending. They're dead. That's it. No, like, afterlife. No fucking, like, but he survived, or just literally didn't even fucking mean to. They just got in the showers and they just died.
Wow.
And that's the end of the movie. And you go, well, that was fun. And then you can carry on with your life. And that's what we need.
Have you ever seen a film called Life is Beautiful?
No.
Very, very, very good film. Also set during the Holocaust. And it's about a father who's and his son get put in a concentration camp, but he's trying to, again, similar to this, mask from his son what's actually happening there and what's going to happen to them there. And he's like playing games with him. He says, "Oh, the guards are coming, so we're going to play hide and seek. So, whoever can hide the longest wins a prize at the end of the day." And then his dad's in like a manual labor camp or something, and he says, "Oh, we're building like this big surprise for you, and you can't ask any questions about it because at some point we're going to unveil it." And it's this absolute tragedy to it, but there's such like a poignant message to it of just shielding that innocence. It's a very, very similar style film to this, I think.
Speaking of the Holocaust, if imagine, right, you played like memories of the Holocaust kind of like gig, right? And you played a gig, and you just showed like pictures of people in the Holocaust. It was just supposed to be just remember the people, but you were just playing a gig and just playing loads of music, and it was just images of people dying on the Holocaust. Do you reckon it would get loads of like backlash? Even though you were just like, yeah, but it's supposed to be remembering the people. Do you reckon it get backlash from a lot of people going, but you're literally just like rocking out to music and you just get these people like dying in gas chambers?
Yeah, it's
I don't
probably
know.
not good, is it?
I don't know. I'm thinking of doing it, charity gig.
Now, what I find really interesting about this film is, and this, if this was the director's original intention, for me personally, I don't think his vision was fully achieved. I don't think the message that he wanted to convey was conveyed effectively. I still think it's a wonderful film, but I will ask this question to you. Do you think that this is an anti-war film? Do you think this is, showing the horrible effects of war and that war is bad ultimately?
I don't think there's enough war in it. In the sense of it's not like it didn't feel like it's not a war movie. It's a tragedy story of people. So I don't see it as no, I don't. Because the thing is, you've got to remember as well, because there was so much emphasis on the characters and the way they were, it just felt very like the war is just the reason it happened. It's happening around them. It's not. Do you get what I mean? It's like that's secondary to what's happening. That's what it felt like.
And they don't go into much context on the war itself in the actual film. It's just the backdrop to everything. But I don't know. When I watch the film, I do think there is a clear sense of the futility of war. There's moments where you have people coming back to their villages who have just haven't seen a shred of war. It's a mere inconvenience to them, you know, like the people on the home front, essentially, who have continued to live normal lives, lives of luxury and wealth, you know, wearing fine fabrics and listening to music and whatever, and being completely ignorant to the people around them that have gone through hardships. And we know that shit happened in this country as well, when soldiers returned to home from being in the trenches and struggled to adjust to civilian life, and people were completely turned a blind eye to the actual horrific effects of what was happening. I don't know. I feel like this has a strong sort of like war is bad, because with the whole film is just showing the horrible effects of it, destroying families, famine, you know, like the innocents being killed across.
Yeah, but it felt very secondary.
And that's where the director, so that you probably agree with the director here, because the director says he's repeatedly denied that this film was an anti-war film, and in his own words has said, quote, "It is not at all an anti-war anime and contains absolutely no such message." He then later on says, Sata defies such totalitarianism and tries to build a pure family with Setsuko alone. Is such a thing possible? No, it's not possible. So he lets Setsuko die. But can we criticize him? The reason why we modern people can easily sympathize with Sata emotionally is because the times have reversed. If the times are reversed again someday, the time may come when people have more opinions to denounce Sata than that widow. I find it frightening.
I find it weird that his name sounds like Satan every time. And you said denounce Satan. And I was like, that literally just sounded like denounce Satan.
I think ultimately what he's getting at is, and the director of the film has expressed his, like, he wishes he could have changed something about it. He wishes that he hadn't have made the main character of that time, because it makes it a period piece. It makes it a retrospective. It makes it a historical epic almost, in a way. What he really wanted to show was the effects of modernity in the Japanese culture and Japanese young men and young adults, and how they were breaking away from the family bond, and they were trying to break out on their own, and how that's not the way to go about things. He wanted it to almost be a critique on modernity. So he wishes he'd have made the main character almost like a time traveler, someone from our contemporary world stepping into a situation like that. As I say, like, I would have got none of those messages had I.
Yeah, I think
like,
doing that would have made it even more of a secondary kind of like war thing. It would have made it even. I don't know. It wouldn't be as tragic, would it? But like, you can time travel.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, fair play to him. This film's regarded as magnum opus. If he had a vision, that's fair enough. But I like that this is a period piece, to be honest, and a retrospective in that way.
Oh yeah, no, it's set in the right time. Definitely.
Yeah. The music in this. Let's talk about the music. So
very
it
Kill Bill.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You said it sounded like Kill Bill Volume 1. I'd have to listen to it again, in all honesty. So it isn't actually Joe Hisaishi that did the music to this. This is Michio Mamiya. Probably absolutely butchered that. I'm assuming maybe it's because Joe Hisaishi was doing the music for My Neighbor Totoro and couldn't do both scores. I'm not sure. Or maybe they just went for someone completely different. I really did like the music in this. It was quite understated, but there was a nice lullaby theme to it, which plays periodically and recurs throughout the film. It's very understated, but it's very pleasant. I
think what they should have done when they released them in like cinemas and shit, the cinema that on the same day, the cinema that said over the top, My Neighbor Totoro should have been playing this. The cinema that said Fireflies should have been playing this, and then you lock the people in the cinema. They have to experience the opposite.
Oh, I'd love that. Oh, they did that with a film. What was it? It was like this really gory, horrific. Was it like Saw X or like Saw 8 or something was playing?
And they locked everyone in.
No, it was advertised as a kids' film, and they sat down. It was like Saw 10 or something was playing.
Well, that almost happened to me once. Like when I was a kid. Remember when Robots came out? And then I went to see that, and we went into The Ring, and my mum was like, I feel like this is the wrong cinema.
That's what I want to know. Like, how long does it take a parent to go, hang on a minute, this probably isn't the film. What's worth mentioning about the soundtrack is apparently the one that was released, it doesn't contain standalone music. it has both the dialogue from the movie as it appears in the film over the top of all the musical tracks, which is very, very strange. At that point, shit, you may as well just watch the movie. Just listen to the audio from the film. Very, very strange. And since, I mean, maybe there's like a bootleg out there where some people have extracted the music now or found a way to do it. That could be a thing. But yeah, and in terms of official releases on the soundtrack, it's paired with the dialogue, which is very strange. The concept of the Fireflies in this, I really like the imagery that's used, because they do recur a lot of times. Sometimes it's used in more of a flashback, like the or to show like the afterlife or whatever. Like they're almost like lost souls, aren't they? I suppose there's the moment where the little girl says something like, why don't fireflies live for very long, or why do they live such short lives? And I think in that moment it's just showing the innocent lives that are being lost during the war. And when you see all of them floating, it is a very almost like spiritual kind of experience, and it's like the souls of the lost. But they're also used in scenes during the war themselves, during the like the firefights where houses are burning. You see some of the, you know, when the horrors of war are happening, you see the fireflies as well. So it could also symbolize the actual the fires of war, I guess, as well. But it's a beautiful image. Like I love the stuff where they're in the fields, like their spirits are in the fields at the end, and you've got the fireflies. It's yeah, it's a wonderful scene.
I don't do the whole beautiful imagery thing. It's not me. I like people when they're dead, they remain dead. Can't bring them back.
It's well,
we don't get enough of that though, do we? Characters die, and there's always some sort of like, oh, they're speaking to me. No, they're fucking not. They're dead. That's it. Do you know what I mean? They don't come back from the dead. None of this whole talking to you in a vision. I fucking hate that shit. And I know for a fact, right, that because in Final Fantasy VII, when Aerith dies, she dies. That's it. And that's one of the coolest things about that. I was like, yeah, she died, right? But we all know now they've remade it. In Part 3, she's going to be a voice in Cloud's head. She's going to hear her. It's like, oh, she talks, and I'm like, fuck off. That's not a thing, and it's going to really ruin it, and it's going to really upset me. When people die, they die. Let the characters be miserable.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this film, would I ever go back and watch this again? I'm not going to say I wouldn't. I'd have to be in a certain frame of mind to watch it, I think. I
legit would, to be fair. Probably in a different way. Like, I wouldn't sit there and focus on it in the same, but I think the thing is, it's really weird to say, but I don't think enough happens that if you sort of, like, let's say you were watching it, you just kind of like were on your phone doing whatever, I don't think you'd miss too much. Like, I mean, it's weird because obviously I've already seen it, so I wouldn't, but it's not one of those where, like, because, you know, with some movies, it's like you blink and you miss it, you want to pay attention the whole time. I think it's one where it's quite longed out. There is a lot going on, but there's not, in the sense of, it's kind of like, let's say, even if you were like, need a shit, you disappear for 10 minutes or whatever, right? You come back, stuff will happen again where it's like you haven't missed any things. You've just missed a certain, maybe, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but like, let's say you missed like the mummy scene with the mummy, like, you know what I mean? Let's say you missed that. You haven't missed anything that is going to be like, now you're going to be confused in the story at all. You're not missing any chunk, but you'd miss like some imagery. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the movie, I'd watch it again, and I think I'd be very okay with it kind of being a background movie, because I think you'd still get all that emotion. You just miss a few images where you're like, instead of getting that emotion 50 times during the movie, you might get it 40 times. That's it. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that.
But I don't think it's one where it's like you really have to focus. I think it's a very nice, easy watch as well.
I think, see, I'm not sure with that whole, oh, well, you can just be on your phone while the film's on. I'm like, well, what's the point in having the film? I don't know. With a film like this, for me, I feel like you want to be present with those characters.
I know,
you don't
but
want
I
any distractions.
There's a lot of times where there's impactful things that you don't need a whole big load of context for it to be as impactful as it is. I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong in this. Well, I say I might be wrong, but like, I might, you know, a lot of people might disagree with me. But like, because there's a lot of things where, I don't know, you'll watch a movie, and let's say you watch the last, I don't know, take Harry Potter, for example. It's the first thing that came into my head, right? And let's say you literally hadn't watched any Harry Potters, and you literally just whack on the 6th one, and you go, and then Dumbledore dies. It's not going to have any impact on you. You don't know the character. You know what I mean? But this, I think I don't think you need loads of background of. You need to spend time with these characters. I think things that happen to them, they're just tragic anyway. You don't need to spend as much time. Does that make sense? Like, there's a lot of times where a character will die or something will happen, and because you spent so much time with them, there was a character recently that I witnessed something happen to, and because I'd spent time with them, I was like, that's not okay. That's quite hard hitting. But if I didn't, it wouldn't have been. This, I think, you don't need to spend as much time with them. It's delivered in such a way that's like it's going to be hard hitting regardless.
I read something here, and I've never heard of this before. I don't know if this, you know, how you're not like meant to draw a picture of Allah, is it, or something like that, or is it you're not meant to like depict or something?
Yeah, Allah, Muhammad. Yeah,
that's it.
And the Danish people drew a picture with him with a turban with a bomb as a turban.
So the director of this film, Takahata, because I was going to talk about like the actual the scenery of the film, the depiction of Japan. Like I absolutely love the way it looks. It looks very realistic. The whole feel of the film does, especially in its setting and the different villages and the depiction of war and whatever. And apparently Takahata, the director, I'm reading this from Wikipedia. He remarked that he had difficulty animating the scenery since in Japanese animation, one is, quote, not allowed to depict Japan in a realistic manner. I don't know if that's just him saying, oh, well, if you're doing it in animation, you've got to make it more larger than life, as is the nature of animation, or if that is an actual rule that you're not allowed to do a realistic look of. Well, I mean, it's animated. It's not going to be realistic, is it? Of course, it's animated in the first place.
I don't know, but the amount of like the thing about anime as well, it's so larger than life. There are things that happen that like you just go, okay, I'm just talking for cool. We'll just go. Like there's all of that happens, no matter what kind of anime it is. A lot of the time, so it's quite hard to say that's not true because when you think about it, like there's a lot of it that's all a bit weird anyway. But I don't know. I can't see that being true. I can't see that being a thing where it's literally a legit rule.
And then he says, because they had to travel to lots of different foreign countries to do research on how to depict the scenery, essentially. And this had never been done before for a Japanese setting. So it's a first there. And another thing to talk about in terms of the actual animation of it, and I don't even know if I really noticed this, but the animation did have a different quality to it. It had like a different texture, like a different feel to it. But apparently the outlines of everything are usually done in black so that there's some contrast between the backgrounds and the characters in the foreground. The outlines in this film were done in brown, all of them, because they wanted a more softer look to everything, a softer feel. And I did get that as a viewer. Like even looking at this shot now, I know our faces are kind of covering the two main characters, but yeah, I don't know if I must have noticed that because when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I didn't outright go, oh, that's done in brown pen when I was watching the film, but it definitely does have a different animation feel to it than the previous Studio Ghibli films we talked about. And I don't know if this is something that's just used for this. I think the brown lines also maybe help it because it's more of a period piece with flashing back to an earlier time, the 40s. But I am curious to see because we've had the two Miyazaki movies currently, Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro. This was Takahata's first one. So I'd be interested to, as we go through the rest of this retrospective, seeing the different approaches that the directors have. If you could go, oh, well, that's absolutely a Miyazaki Studio Ghibli film. Oh, no, I can definitely tell that's Takahata. I'm wondering if there is going to be like different subject matter, different tone maybe between those two directors. I don't know, but I'm interested to see more of his work. Apparently, though, this one's his magnum opus. This is often considered his, the best of the best. So I guess we will see. It was his first ever animated film as well by him. So as a first animated film, it's pretty damn good.
It's like a lot of things, though, isn't it? There's so many things out there where the first is always the best. I think because I'm not saying that on every single thing ever, but like I think there's a lot of times because with the first, there's so much experimenting and so much. There's no bar, if that makes sense. There might be an internal bar in the sense of I want to do this or whatever, but there's no bar of it needs to be like this or my audience is like this. It's just we do what we do. I'm going to do what I do. That's why a lot of bands as well, like obviously they released their first album and it's so good. I mean, obviously when bands release their first album, realistically they've got what, 20 years to work on it. Like, let's say they're 25, they release the album, they've got the last 25 years or whatever, they've just been writing music. Well, 25 years, you know what I mean, though, since they've been writing music for the last 15 years or whatever it's been. And they use all that. So obviously there is that element too. So when like someone does a story, there's things where, I came up with that idea 10 years ago. There's all of that to fit in it, I guess. I know you can use that later on when it comes to obviously work later on, but there's just all of that, no bar set of, it needs to be like this or anything. So I think first impressions always, you can strike gold easily, if that makes sense, on your first go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people consider Miyazaki's magnum opus. I've heard some people mention My Neighbor Totoro. We discussed last week. It's a very charming film. It's a very easy film. I don't know if that would be my favorite when all's said and done, but I think it will definitely be up there.
My favorite at the moment.
See, I really like Princess Mononoke, which is going to be
but I haven't seen them. So at the moment,
I know. So, and I mean, I haven't seen them all. Here's the thing. So I'm saying out of the 7 that I've watched, I was like, I think Princess Mononoke is probably my favorite one. There's probably another one that I actually prefer to that. So that's why we've got lots of films to cross off on this that I haven't seen before. You haven't seen any of them before. I haven't seen next week's, so that's going to be a new one for me. That's going to be Kiki's Delivery Service. So we'll be talking about that.
It's AKA fish pie.
That's an inside joke, quite literally.
Yeah.
There's one thing I also wanted to talk about this because I thought this was a pretty like badass mic drop comment from the director here. So it says that Takahata drew from his personal experience to create a realistic depiction of the air raid on Okayama. And apparently in an interview, he criticized a lot of other films and TV shows in how they show incendiary bombs, however you say it. And he says, quote, "They include no sparks or explosions. I was there and I experienced it, so I know what it was like." I'm like, okay, Takahata, that's fine. Wow, I love that. There's something in one of the Lord of the Rings films that's like that too, where one of the actors is like, I know what this was like, so let me lead this thing. And Peter Jackson was like, okay, you sure, go for it, which is great. And I can't tell you what it is at the moment because that's going to be a spoiler. So
I know about the pointed-eared people that are racist to the small people.
Yeah, you've seen Fellowship now at this point. You haven't seen Two Towers of Return of the King, but we are working on it. So, Carl says, before you go, are you happy with how your signpost has turned out? Yes, immensely so. I don't know if I can. Should I take one off the wall and show the camera? Should I do it?
I mean, you could.
I could.
Gotta put it back up.
I know. I'll show you Fellowship. Carl. Hang on. Take my earphones off. 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves.
You could take all of them off. Take them all off. Use all of them.
So, Carl, just obviously imagine that this is on all of them, right? Because it's just the same thing on all of them. Let me get my earphone back in. We do it.
You should have taken them all down. Compare them.
Yeah, just right now. Oh God, this is so awkward. Where is it? There it is. Other way, Chris. Other way. Ian McKellen. There we go. And he's even done the little Gandalf rune underneath. Ain't that nice of him?
How annoying would it have been if he didn't sign it above him?
Well, so I'm part of like the events group, and people were sharing the pictures of their items that they got signed. And one person asked specifically for the placement and the color of pen, and he signed it in a different place in a different colored pen. And they were like, I've got a signature from Ian McKellen, so I'm not completely mad, but I did specify where I want. I paid a lot of money for this, and I did specify. So yeah, luckily that's not the case. He signed it in the color I wanted and exactly where I wanted it. So I'm very happy. Now they just need to get Vigo, and they need to get Sean Bean, and then I have the 9 on the first poster at least. So that will be fucking glorious. If I can just get the 9 on the first one. I'm never going to get everyone. You know, some of the actors unfortunately have passed away, are impossible to get, or you know, like Bernard Hill, for example, I got him on Two Towers, but I never got him on Return of the King. I was going to, but unfortunately, on the day that I was going to meet him, that's when he passed away. But if I can at least get the 9 on the first poster, I can die a happy man that I got that. So yeah, it was a lot of money. It was a shit ton of money. It was an egregious amount of money, but I'm glad that I did it, because it's never going to happen again. I'll never get that chance ever again. So, and I know it's legit. There's pictures of him signing it, and it's all above board. I've got certificates of authenticity on it too.
I never understand certificates of authenticity. Like, what is there to say that they're authentic certificates?
It's done by like a certain signing board that preside over it, and
yeah, but how do you know it's the official signing board? Is there a certificate of authenticity of the certificate of authenticity?
I was going to say yes. It's just Russian dolls of certificates of authenticity.
Yeah. Like, how do we know? And check that authentic isn't spelled with a K, because if it is, I don't think it's authentic.
Yeah. The pictures helped, though. The pictures helped, and I'm going to be getting a photo with him at London Comic Con, which is next month, which I'm really excited for. And then I'm just going to fill all of these bad boys up with more signatures, which is going to cost me a small fucking fortune, but I should have a more or less complete set by the end of it. I just need Liv Tyler to do another one, because I only got her on my first poster, because at that point I was just going to get the characters when they were introduced in the films and call it quits. But then I made the decision of like, maybe I should just get them on all. So I need Liv Tyler to come back.
You should get the other Steven Tyler above Liv Tyler. Just
walk this way.
Just to really fuck with it.
Yeah, next time I see her, I'll be like, I met your dad. Well, I didn't meet him. I saw your dad. And she'll be like, oh yeah, did you? Yeah. So millions of other people probably.
It's no, you should get her dad to sign it, and then when you meet her, be like, oh, I got your dad to sign it because you weren't here. So she'd be like, that's weird. But okay.
She was so cool. She was just yeah. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Carl, it's Dale the Dream Crusher. There you go.
I'm just saying. You never know.
Oh, dude, I had the same thought as well. See, me and Carl are cut from the same cloth here. We're both like major Lost fans. Did you ever watch Lost when it was on, Dale?
No, I don't do TV, really. So no, and then I heard the ending was shit, and I went, "Well, I'm not going to do that then."
I mean, you ain't wrong. It is.
I know the concept. I know the concept of what it was. I know the ending. Aren't they like all dead or some shit?
Yes and no.
Yeah, like it's purgatory or something.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's like I know that, and I'm never going to watch it, so I don't care. But I know it's like
But yeah, I had visions of Carl. You'll know the poster that I'm talking about. It's where all the entire cast, I think it's from like season 6, are silhouetted up on the hill, and you could get like the cast to sign above their character, which would be amazing.
One question I have is, how many seasons was it?
6.
How do they make 6 fucking years worth of TV show about people lost on a desert island? I don't get it.
Because they kept coming up with new storylines for each season of how
were there cannibals involved, like there's
a new mystery, and now we've got like a science team that was here many years ago, and what's their story? Oh, there's multiple science teams around here, and and then the island can teleport.
Oh,
and then there's a Jesus Christ and Satan figure on the island.
I mean, that all took a turn.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Carl says, that's the one I want. I'm looking to get my Kevin Smith Blu-ray signed. He does a lot of signings, I think. Kevin Smith, you'll be absolutely fine there. I've seen a lot of the Lost cast go to Comic-Cons. I know that Claire, Kate, Jacob, and I think the guy who plays Desmond have been to a few Comic-Cons. But I mean, in terms of like Matthew Fox and, like the main core cast, Hurley and whatnot, I was hoping they'd do something for the anniversary. When I did like the quiz, I was hoping that a lot of Comic-Cons would get in on that, but they really didn't. So hold out hope, dude. They might do. Right. I think we're going to round it off there. So next week we will be talking about Kiki's delivery service. But before then,
I was going to say, I was like, before that.
we'll be talking about Superman on Saturday. We've got tickets booked for it. JX is seeing it on that day as well. Now, what the plan is, me and you are going to start reviewing it at 10. He should be good to join us at around 11. So it depends if we can hold the fort for an hour. If there's enough to talk about the new Superman film for an hour. If there isn't, then it'll just be me and you. But if we're talking a little bit longer, as soon as he gets back from the theater, he's going to jump on and he might be able to give his like last minute thoughts on it in some way. But that would be cool because then it'll be all three of us on the stream and you guys haven't met yet. So that'll be fun.
And then in 1, 2, and then 2 weeks later, be the ultimate Lord of the Rings review.
Yes, so we plan on... So, okay, I think people may have seen this when we did our last stream. We were planning on doing a first-time watch of The Lord of the Rings for yourself. And we had everything set up. I've still got my TV right here. We had the headphone splitter. Everything was going great. We were recording it, and it was all hunky-dory. Then the headphone splitter decided to give up on life. But then also I was conscious of the fact that about 45 minutes into the movie, we'd said about 2 sentences. We were just in that movie. We were just focused, absorbing. I didn't want to keep talking over it because it was your first time watching it, and that would fucking infuriate me if someone kept doing that. I just wanted you to experience it.
I think...
But with those first time watch-alongs, I think there has to be an element of performance to it. You want to see people go, oh my god, that was awesome, and it's just
I think I'm glad I'm watching the movies first because if I'd read the book first, it probably would have felt very like there would have been things missed out that I'm like, but they did, like, do you know what I mean? So I'm glad I'm doing it. I am glad I'm doing it this way. I think I'll appreciate the book a lot more as well. When I do read that. Obviously I've read The Hobbit, but when I read Lord of the Rings, it will make me go, oh, there's this as well, and then it'll make me really, really appreciate it more. But it was also, I think it's, as it stands, it's weird to say because I've not read the book, but it's like my favorite book adaptation, like movie-wise. That's it. It's weird to say because I haven't read the book, but because it felt so like there was a lot going on, and there was a really good pace. It wasn't like, all right, guys, we've got to wrap this up. We've got 2.5 hours. It was like, well, we got more to do. Let's just keep, and that's what it felt like. It just felt like, I mean, my views might change a bit when I've read the book, because I know we'll do like we did for The Hobbit, obviously a review on that on the book as well. But so it might change a little bit there. But I think it was very sort of like, just it felt like a book moment. It felt like a hold up. We've got things we need in there. That's what we're doing. We're putting everything we need. So it'll be interesting to see if my views do change, if it's like and how much, in the sense of, they should have kept. Well, there will be things I probably will want to have kept, but it'll be interesting, won't it? But I do think it'll be. It's one of my, like, it's definitely at the moment a top book adaptation where I think, you know what, this feels like they've kept a lot, and it feels like, I would definitely watch it again because it's a fantastic movie.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I'm just like, I agree with all these things. And I think you came into it with the perfect, say baggage, but like you'd read The Hobbit beforehand, and I think
so I knew the world.
Yeah, exactly. You'd already had that introduction to it. You were able to catch the references to The Hobbit, where they talk about Thorin and they talk about the incident with the dragon and Bilbo's trolls and everything. Like, you knew where that was coming from.
What I really need is, how they did like Hogwarts Legacy, and it was like in that world of Harry Potter. I need a Lord of the Rings one where you can walk around the whole of that world and just do the thing. And
well, there is a team who are doing that exact thing in Minecraft. It's called Ardacraft.
Minecraft don't count.
No. This is like a modded version. They are creating a 1:58 scale Middle Earth. It's huge. Forget any fantasy map you've seen before. They did a thing where they showed their map, and the entirety of Skyrim was a speck on the map. And they're doing all of Middle Earth. It looks absolutely incredible. They started in the early 2010s, I think it was. There's a team of about like 25, 30 people working on it at any one time. And they've estimated that they're going to finish midway through the 2030s. I really hope that Minecraft's still a thing by then, because that would be really awkward if they shut everything down. It's like, hey, like, can you not? But yeah, that's going to be completely open world, almost entirely 100% book accurate. That just everything down to every infinitesimal detail. They have poured over everything in the book and made it, just followed it to a T. So it's I would encourage people to check out that channel. It's absolutely incredible. That's Ardercraft. Carl says, Two Towers was the film that got me into the Lord of the Rings films. I'd say no. Okay, so the first time I saw Fellowship at the cinema, I didn't like it because my attention span was shit and I didn't understand what I was watching. And then it was the following year or whenever it came out on home video, and I rewatched it again in preparation for Two Towers, and I was hyped. So I guess it still was Fellowship that got me into Lord of the Rings, but it just took me a little bit longer than some. Carl, referring to Two Towers, says, loved it, and it was the first time I heard people clapping in the cinema when it ended. When Two Towers ended, and how it does, and I can't tell you how it ends, and it was that I've got to wait a full calendar year before seeing the next one. What am I going to fucking do for a year? I'm just going to rewatch Fellowship and Two Towers just for the rest of the year, I guess. But yeah, that was agonizing. And you were waiting for bated breath for that last one for Return of the King. And then the Hobbit films came out, and you were like, oh, God, great. I suppose I'll show up next year for the last one. Let's just get this over with. It's like a sense of obligation at that point.
Yeah. I've heard all the same stuff from mostly everyone.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings, you were clamoring for more. The Hobbit, there was too much. It was like,
Rings of Power sounds good. They've done it.
Right, no. And on that bombshell, we will round it off. So, everyone watching at home, I haven't changed these. Give me a second. So unprepared tonight, guys.
What we need like an interactive, like everyone press the red button. I'd like one of those. That would be cool.
That would be cool. I don't know if we could do that on here. I don't think we can. Let us know your thoughts on Grave of the Fireflies. If you've seen it, let us. It's difficult to say like favorite scenes. I can't pick like a single favorite scene from this because it's just all one.
My favorite though was with the rice bowl, because it was just so like that hit. That was.
Is that where she put it on as like a helmet? Was it? Are you talking about with the rice bowl?
No, where she's like, I can have some more rice, and she's like, yeah, of course you can, and she's like. Yes, as I was like, see, we get whatever it's called. It's like later, it's like, no, you don't. You get more rice.
Oh,
and it's like, and then you could just see look in the girl, and I was like, oh, that's just sad, though, isn't it? Like it was just because it was like just the girl was nothing. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it was sad. That was the one for me.
It's the bit where they dissolve one of the fruit drops into water, and she drinks it, and she's like, it's so many flavors. I'm like, oh. Anyway, yeah. Please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. We're going to be continuing this Studio Ghibli retrospective all the way up to December. A lot of movies to get through, and it's just, I don't think there's been really an all-out bad one at the moment, has there? I know now Ashika, we were kind of, yeah, it's okay, but
no, it's not a bad one. But that one did feel like the B movie. The kind of like is your introduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and technically that wasn't under the Studio Ghibli name, so if we're counting it from Castle in the Sky onwards, there definitely hasn't been a bad one. And I've heard that Kiki's delivery service is very, very good. One of the best as well. So very much looking forward to that one. So yeah, we'll be back on Saturday for some Superman. And then we'll be back for some Studio Ghibli. And at some point, some Lord of the Rings later down the line. So yeah. Thank you to everyone who's commented and tuned in tonight. We appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everyone.